Hello there, and welcome back to Max's Cards and Dice Dugout. This is episode 192, and this time out we are at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio for game number 1 of the Gaedel Cup Finals of the Strat-O-Matic Baseball Oldtimer Kings King of the Hill tournament. This has the 1954 Cleveland Indians hosting the 1961 Cincinnati Reds. These two teams were the first two to reach 10 wins, and that's how we got here. It took 69 games, but here we are. And this will be a best-of-7 tournament with a 2-3-2 format. So let's get to the starting lineups for both teams. First, for the visiting 1961 Cincinnati Reds. Leading off at second base is Don Blasingame. Batting second, shortstop Eddie Casco. Batting third, center fielder Veda Pinson. Batting fourth, right fielder Frank Robinson. Batting fifth, in left field is Wally Post. Batting sixth, third baseman Gene Freeze. Batting seventh, first baseman Gordy Coleman. Batting eighth, catcher John Edwards. And on the mound and batting ninth is Jim O'Toole. In 1961, he was 19-9 with a 3.09 ERA, 253 innings pitched. He's a number 2 hitting pitcher, so he gets that card inserted into the lineup for him. Now for the home team, the 1954 Cleveland Indians. Leading off in left field is Al Smith. Batting second, second baseman Bobby Avila. Batting third, center fielder Larry Doby. Batting fourth, at third base, Al Rosen. Batting fifth, first baseman Vic Wertz. Batting sixth, Dave Philly. He's in right field. Batting seventh, shortstop George Strickland. Batting eighth, catcher Jim Hegan. And on the hill and batting ninth is Bob Lemon. In 1954, he was 23-7 with a 2.72 ERA, 258 innings pitched. He's a number 3 hitting pitcher, so he gets that card inserted into the lineup for him. And I should mention that part of the rules that I set up when I started this tournament was that when we reached the finals, all teams would have full strength of their benches and all injuries would be cured. And we are ready to get underway. Game 1 of the inaugural Gaedel Cup Finals here at Cleveland Municipal. And Lemon delivers to Blasingame. And he pops that one up. Off with the mask is Jim Hegan, and in foul territory he makes the catch for out number 1. We are underway. That brings up shortstop Eddie Casco. Pitch from Lemon. And another one. Casco gets underneath that one. Hegan off with the mask. In foul territory near the Reds dugout. And there are 2 away. That brings up Veda Pinson. Pitch from Lemon. And Pinson also gets under this one, but it does travel out towards first base. Vic Wertz is under that near the bag, and he makes the catch. The Reds go 1-2-3. No runs, no hits, no one left on. We have a half inning completed, and it's the Reds nothing. And the Indians coming to bat. Bob Lemon gets a fatigue point. Jim O'Toole out here for the Reds. And it's Al Smith, left fielder, leading things off for the Indians. Here's the pitch. And that's a strikeout. And there's 1 away. Get Smith looking. So nobody on, 1 out. And second baseman Bobby Avila. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to first base. It's going to be an X check for Gordy Coleman. He's a 4, and we roll a 17. And Coleman makes a diving stop. Tosses to O'Toole covering first base. Nice play for out number 2. So 2 outs, nobody on. And center fielder Larry Doby. Just a pitch from O'Toole. Another X check at first base for Gordy Coleman. This time we roll a 9. And that's off Coleman's glove and trickles into right field. And Doby's going to reach on the E3. So there's still 2 outs. So a nice play by Coleman is followed up by an error. There's a man on first with 2 away. No score here in the bottom of the first. And it's third baseman Al Rosen. Here's the pitch. Low and outside. And Rosen trots down to first base. Doby moves up to second. The runners on first and second with 2 outs for first baseman Vic Wirtz. Pitch from O'Toole. That's a ground ball to first base. Coleman's got that. He's going to take it unassisted for the final out. So no runs, no hits. 2 men left on, and after 1 complete, we are scoreless. Jim O'Toole will pick up a fatigue point. All right, so we go to the top of the second. Leading things off for the Reds will be right fielder Frank Robinson. Pitch from Lemon. It's a ground ball to short. And that's going to be Strickland over to Wirtz for the 6-3 putout. And there's 1 away. It brings up Wally Post, left fielder for the Reds. Pitch from Lemon. It's a fly ball to center field, but it's going to be an X check for Larry Doby. He's a 1, and we roll a 16. And a diving catch by Larry Doby robs Wally Post of extra bases. And there are 2 away. 2 outs, nobody on for the Reds here in the top of the second. And Gene Freese, third baseman. Pitch from Lemon. And we got our first hit for the Reds. 2-out single for Gene Freese into left field. He makes the turn, but he's going to hold there. His stealing is a C, so he's not much of a threat to run here. That brings up first baseman Gordy Coleman. Here's the pitch from Lemon. And Coleman gets under this one, sends it to deep center field. That sends Larry Doby back to the track, to the wall. It's way up, out of here, gone. A 2-out, 2-run home run for Gordy Coleman. And the Reds take a 2-0 lead. My. And Bob Lemon picks up 2 fatigue points, and it is 2-0 favor of the Reds. Right now you could hear a pin drop in Cleveland Municipal. So 2 outs, nobody on. Catcher John Edwards. Reds lead 2-0. Here's the pitch. And that's a strikeout to end the inning. First strikeout for Bob Lemon, but not before the Reds pick up 2 runs on 2 hits. No one left on. After 1.5, it's the Reds 2 and the Indians nothing. And Bob Lemon will pick up another fatigue point. That puts him at 4. All right. So we go to the bottom of the second. Jim O'Toole with a 2-run lead. Jim O'Toole, excuse me. And leading things off for the Indians is Dave Philly. Here's the pitch. That's a fly ball to center field. And Veda Pinson has got that near the track for the first out here in the bottom of the second. And that brings up shortstop George Strickland. Pitch from O'Toole. And that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 2 for O'Toole. And there are 2 away here in the bottom of the second. So 2 outs, nobody on, and catcher Jim Hegan. Pitch from O'Toole. And Hegan gets a hold of this one, sends it out to left field. Wally Post just watches it go over his head. It's way up, out of here, gone. A 2-out solo shot for catcher Jim Hegan. And the Reds' lead is cut in half. It's now 2-1. And O'Toole picks up another fatigue point. And the crowd starts to come alive here in Cleveland. That brings up Bob Lemon. Here's the pitch from O'Toole. It's a ground ball to second base, but it's going to be an X check for Don Blasingame. He's a 3. We roll lucky 13. Nice play by Blasingame, and he fires over to first. They get Lemon by a step to end the inning. But the Indians do pick up a run on one hit. That one hit was Jim Hegan's solo shot. And after 2 complete, it's the Reds 2 and the Indians 1. And O'Toole get his 3rd fatigue point. And we go to the top of the 3rd, and leading things off will be Jim O'Toole. Pitch from Lemon. And this is lifted over to first base, where Vic Wertz is under that, makes the catch for the first out. And we're back to the top of the order. And second baseman Don Blasingame, who is 0 for 1. Pitch from Lemon. It's a ground ball back to Lemon. It's going to be an X check for him. He's a 2, as all pitchers are in this version of the game we're playing. And we roll a 7. And a nice scoop by Lemon. He trots over towards first base and tosses underhand to Vic Wertz with a 1-3 put out. And there are 2 away. So 2 outs, nobody on at shortstop Eddie Casco, who is 0 for 1. Pitch from Lemon. And Casco gets under this one. And George Strickland is waving everyone off, and he's going to make the catch over there out at shortstop for the 3rd out. So the Reds go 1-2-3 in the top of the 3rd. No runs, no hits, no one left on. We've played 2.5, and it's the Reds 2 and the Indians 1. And Bob Lemon picks up fatigue point number 5. All right, it's going to be the top of the order for the Indians here in the bottom of the 3rd. And here's Al Smith, pitch from O'Toole. That's a leadoff single for the left fielder. Right up the middle, he makes the turn, but he's going to stay put at first base. Now it's second baseman Bobby Avila. He's 0 for 1. Pitch from O'Toole. It's a ground ball back to O'Toole. It's going to be an X check. He's a 2. We roll a 9. And that is going to be O'Toole to Casco to Coleman for the 1-6-3 double play. They get the force on Smith at second, and they get Avila by a half step. And there are 2 away now. So 2 outs, nobody on. And center fielder Larry Doby, who reached on an error his first time up. Here's a pitch. And that's a strikeout to end the inning. Doby way out in front on that one. That's strikeout number 3 for Jim O'Toole. So no runs, 1 hit. No man left. And after 3 innings, it's the Reds 2 and the Indians 1. And Jim O'Toole will pick up fatigue point number 4. Go to the top of the 4th. And leading things off for the Reds will be center fielder Veda Pinson, who is 0 for 1. Pitch from Lemon. That's a leadoff single for Pinson over third baseman Vic Wertz is heading into left field. He makes the turn, but he stays there at first. So leadoff man is on for Frank Robinson. Reds lead 2-1 here in the top of the fourth. Pitch from Lemon. And he hits one into the left center gap. Pinson moves to third, and now the Reds have runners on the corners with nobody out for Wally Post. So 2 hits in a row to start off this inning. Cleveland's going to play the defense at normal depth. Here's the pitch to Post. And he hits a fly ball to deep right field. That sends Dave Philly back to the track, to the wall where he makes the catch. Pinson's going to be able to tag up and score. And the throw is cut off, so Robinson holds at first on the sacrifice fly by Wally Post. But a run does score there. And that is a 9 with an RBI. There's one away. All right, so a man on first, 1 out. Now the Reds lead 3-1, and Bob Lemon gets fatigue point number 6. That brings up Gene Freeze. Pitch from Lemon. And that's a 1-out single. Robinson moves up to second. He's going to stay there. Now it's runners on first and second with 1 out. And there is some movement out in the Cleveland bullpen. Jackets are coming off, but no one's throwing yet. That's Gordy Coleman is next. So runners on first and second. I'm having a problem over here with my envelopes. They don't want to stay put, so excuse me a moment. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. So runners on first and second with 1 out. First baseman Gordy Coleman, who homered his last time up. Here's the pitch from Lemon. And this one's going to stay in the infield. Vic Wertz is under that. Makes the catch for out number 2. There's first and second with 2 away, and catcher John Edwards. Edwards is 0 for 1. He struck out his first time up. Here's the pitch from Lemon. Almost hits Edwards, and that's going to load him up. The bases are loaded with 2 outs, and Jim O'Toole comes to the plate. Pitch from Lemon. It's a fly ball to left field, and it's going to be an X check for Al Smith. He is a 2, and we roll a 1. And Smith makes a shoestring catch out there for out number 3. But the Reds do pick up a run on 2 hits, 3 men left. And after 3.5, it's the Reds 3 and the Indians 1. Bob Lemon gets fatigue point number 7. Jim O'Toole. Bottom of the 4th, he's got to face Al Rosen first. Third baseman for the Indians. He walked his first time up. Here's the pitch from O'Toole. It's a ground ball to short. And that's going to be Eddie Casco over to Gordy Coleman. 6-3 put out, and there is 1 away. First baseman Vic Wertz. Pitch from O'Toole. That's a fly ball to center. Beta Pinson, near the track, makes the catch, and that's the 2nd out here in the bottom of the 4th. And next is Dave Philly, the right fielder. Pitch from O'Toole. And that's into the left center gap. Philly rounds first and slides in the second with a 2-out double. So the Indians have a runner in scoring position with 2 outs, and that brings up George Strickland. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Pitch from O'Toole. And that's another strikeout for O'Toole to end the inning. Strikeout number 3. So no runs on 1 hit, 1 man left. We've played 4, and it's the Reds 3 and the Indians 1. Jim O'Toole will get fatigue point number 5. Lemon, who is at 7, is coming out here for the top of the 5th. Still no actual activity in the Indians bullpen, but there are some people moving around. And leading things off for the Reds here in the top of the 5th is back to the top of the order, and second baseman Don Blasingame. Pitch from Lemon. It's a fly ball to center field. Larry Doby has got a beat on that. Makes the catch, and there's 1 away. Now bring up shortstop Eddie Casco. He's 0 for 2. Pitch from Lemon. It's a ground ball to second base. It's going to be an X check for Bobby Avila. He's a 3, roll of 16. And a nice play by Avila. Tosses over to Vic Wertz for the second out. 4-3 if you're keeping score. So 2 outs, nobody on. Veda Pinson. Pinson's 1 for 2 with a run scored. Here's the pitch. And Pinson gets a hold of this one, and it's out to deep left center. Larry Doby back to the track, to the wall. It's way up, out of here, gone. A 2-out solo shot from Veda Pinson, and it's now 4-1 in favor of the Reds. And it's quiet here again, and Bob Lemon picks up fatigue point number 8. It's going to bring up Frank Robinson. 2 outs, nobody on. Pitch to Robinson. And that's another fly ball to center field. That sends Doby back to the track, to the wall. He makes the catch in front of the wall for the 3rd out. But the Reds pick up another run on Veda Pinson's solo shot. 1 run on 1 hit, no one left on. And after 4.5, it's now 4-1 in favor of the Reds. And Bob Lemon will pick up fatigue point number 9. So here in the bottom of the 5th, for Cleveland, it's going to be Jim Hegan, the pitcher's spot, and back to the top of the order, Al Smith. And we do see that Mike Garcia is warming up out there for the Indians. So I would assume that Bob Lemon's day is done. Here's O'Toole to Hegan. And that's a leadoff single for Jim Hegan. And he rounds first base, but stays put. And that's bringing up the pitcher's spot. And Lemon has not even come out to the batting circle. And it's going to be Sam Dante, or Dente, if you will, pinch hitting for Lemon. And Mike Garcia is going to come out and pitch in the top of the 6th for Cleveland. They try to get back in this game here. So utility infielder Dente. Man on first, nobody out. Pitch from O'Toole. It's a fly ball to center field. Veda Pinson's got that one. And there's 1 away. Hegan holds at first base. And that brings up left fielder Al Smith. Pitch from O'Toole. It's a ground ball back to O'Toole. It's got to be an X check for him. He's a 2. We roll a 3. His only play is to go to first, and that allows Hegan to move up to second on the 1-3 put out. That's the second out. So the Indians have a runner on second with 2 away, and Bobby Avila. Avila's 0 for 2. Pitch from O'Toole. And that's a single. Hegan moves to third. Let's check his running. He's going to hold up there. He's a 1-11. That makes him a 1-13 with 2 outs. He's going to hold. And so the Indians have runners on the corners with 2 outs. Larry Doby. Pitch from O'Toole. This is trouble. What are the chances of that? This is hit into left field, and that sends Post back to the wall. It's off the wall. It rolls away from him. Hegan comes in to score. Avila's being waved around. He scores. Wally Post still trying to track the ball down as Doby slides into third with a 2-out, 2 RBI triple. And it's now a 1-run game, 4-3. And Jim O'Toole picks up 2 more fatigue points, and he's at 7. The Indians have got themselves back in the game here. They're only down by 1. Man on third, 2 outs, and third baseman Al Rosen. Here's the pitch. That's low and inside, almost hits Rosen. That's a 2-out walk. So now the Indians have runners on the corners. As the stadium comes alive again, they're on their feet. As Vic Wirtz steps into the batter's box, he's 0 for 2. Pitch from O'Toole. High and outside. And another walk. And that's going to get O'Toole a visit to the mound, as there is some activity now starting in the Reds bullpen. And it's Ken Johnson warming up for the Reds. All right, so the bases are loaded with 2 outs. Indians trail by a run. And right fielder Dave Philly, who's 1 for 2. He doubled his last time up, but was stranded there. Pitch from O'Toole. And he walks in the tying run. O'Toole not happy with the umpire on that one. And we are tied at 4. And O'Toole gets fatigue point number 8. The bases are still loaded. It's George Strickland next. Here's the pitch from O'Toole. And George Strickland lifts this one into right field. Frank Robinson back to the track, to the wall. It's over his head and gone. A 2-out grand slam home run for shortstop George Strickland. My goodness. And Jim O'Toole has his head down. And it is now 8 to 4. How things have changed so quickly. And that is 4 more fatigue points for O'Toole. He is fatigued. So we're just going to mark that as fatigued. And his day is done. And it's going to be Mike Garcia. He's coming in for Jim O'Toole. Or excuse me, not Mike Garcia, Ken Johnson. I'm looking at the wrong team. We already have Garcia coming out for Lemon. But it's Ken Johnson for the Reds, who's going to be the new pitcher. So O'Toole's day is done. He's responsible. Well, nope, the bases are cleared. Thanks to Strickland. The new pitcher, Ken Johnson. Let's look at his card. 1961, he was 6-2 with a 3.25 ERA, 83 innings pitched. He's listed as a starter reliever, and pitching in relief, he will have 7 fatigue points to play with. So, the Indians have batted around. Bases are empty, and they now have the lead, 8-4, excuse me. And it's Jim Hegan, who started things off with a base hit this inning earlier. And here's the pitch from Johnson. That's a ground ball to third. And Gene Freese over to Gordy Coleman, and the Reds get out of the jam. Well, call it what you want. But the Reds do score 7 runs on 4 hits. No men left. And after 5 innings, how things have changed. It's the Reds, or excuse me, the Indians 8 and the Reds 4. And Ken Johnson will get his first fatigue point. All right, as mentioned earlier, as we go to the top of the 6th, Bob Lemon's day is done, and Mike Garcia is the new pitcher for the Indians. And in 1954, he was 19-8 with a 2.64 ERA, 259 innings pitched. He's listed as a starter reliever. So in a reliever capacity, he is granted 7 fatigue points to work with. So it's Garcia. In for Lemon. As we go to the top of the 6th. And leading things off for the Reds will be Wally Post. They are in shock right now. Here's the pitch from Garcia. Man, that's a strikeout. Good start for Garcia here. There's one away. That brings up Gene Freese. Freese is 2 for 2 with a run scored. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to second base. It's going to be an X-check for Bobby Avila. He's a 3, and we roll a 16. Nice play by Avila. Fires over to Vic Wirtz, and they get Freese by a half step. And there's 2 away. That's Gordy Coleman up next. Coleman's 1 for 2. That one was a home run back in the 2nd inning. Here's the pitch. That's a strikeout. 2nd strikeout for Garcia. And the Reds go 1, 2, 3. No runs, no hits, no one left on. 5.5 played. And it's the Indians 8 and the Reds 4. And we're going to make this the 6th inning. All right, leading things off. As Ken Johnson comes out, it's going to be the pitcher, Mike Garcia. He's a number 1 hitting pitcher, so I have to replace that card in the lineup. And here's the pitch from Johnson. And this is off the wall in center field. And Mike Garcia rounds first and slides into second with a leadoff double. When it rains, it pours. Now we're back to the top of the lineup for the Indians. And Al Smith Pitch from Johnson. Smith lines this one, but right at second baseman Blasingame. They fire to second base, but Garcia gets back in time. There's one away. Brings up Bobby Avila. Avila's 1 for 3 with a run scored. Here's the pitch. And that's a base hit into left center. And Garcia's being waved home. Add another run for the Indians, and it's now 9-4. And Johnson picks up fatigue point number 2. This one's getting away from the Reds. So man on first with 1 out. And the Indians lead 9-2, or 9-4, excuse me. Pitch from Johnson to Doby. And that's lifted up in foul territory. John Edwards off with the mask and makes the catch behind home plate for out number 2. So 2 outs, man on first for Al Rosen. Pitch from Johnson. And that's a 2-out base hit for Rosen. Avila moves up to second. He's going to hold there. So runners on first and second with 2 outs, and Vic Wirtz. Just a pitch. It's a fly ball to center field. And Veda Pinson's under that, makes the catch for out number 3. But the Indians pick up a run. 1, 2, 3 hits. 1 run, 3 hits. 2 men left on. And after 6 complete, it's the Indians 9 and the Reds 4. And Ken Johnson gets fatigue point number 3. Well, during the Hill portion of the tournament, I can recall Mike Garcia being very effective for Cleveland out of the bullpen. Let's see if that continues. He's going to face John Edwards first. It's a ground ball back to Garcia. It's the next check. He's a 2, and we roll that lucky 13. And Garcia makes a play on that, fires over to first base, but it is over Wirtz's head, and Edwards rounds first, heads to second on the E1. That's a 2-base error, and the first error for the Indians. So the Reds going to try to get something going here. Now let's take a look at Johnson. He's only at 3 fatigue points. He's a number 2 hitting pitcher. I think he's going to stay in here right now. That may be a bad decision, but that's the one I'm going with. They are down by 5 runs, so he's going to swing away. Here's the pitch. And it pays off because that is a single. And that allows Edwards to move to third. And now the Reds have runners on the corners, and we're back to the top of the order. Did I curse Mike Garcia by making that statement? Who knows? All right, so runners on the corners, nobody out. Indians are keeping the infield at normal depth. Back to the top of the order, Don Blasingame. Here's the pitch. And that's a base hit. That's going to score Edwards. And that gets the Reds to 5. So base hit for Blasingame. RBI single. And Johnson moves up to second. So runners on first and second, nobody out. And Garcia gets a fatigue point. Actually, he should have 2. one for the last inning. And that brings up Eddie Casco. Nine to 5 in favor of the Indians. Runners on first and second, nobody out. Pitch to Casco. And it's a ground ball back to Garcia. And they're able to get Blasingame on the force for the first out. Johnson's going to move to third, and Casco will reach on the fielder's choice. So runners on first and third with one out. Veda Pinson. Infield is still at normal depth. Pitch to Pinson. It's a ground ball to first base. And let's see what happens here. Ground ball to first base. Only play is to get Casco at second. So Pinson reaches on the fielder's choice, 2 in a row, and that allows Johnson to score. And it's now 9 to 6. And Mike Garcia picks up fatigue point number 3. So now the Reds have a runner on first with 2 outs. And Frank Robinson. They trail by 3, 9 to 6. Pitch from Garcia. That's a ground ball to second base. Bobby Avila over to Vic Wirtz. And they get Frank Robinson to end the inning. But the Reds do pick up 2 runs on 2 hits and 1 man left. And as we stretch them, the score is now Cleveland 9 and Cincinnati 6. All right. So Mike Garcia is going to pick up another fatigue point. Puts him at 4. Ken Johnson, who is at 3. Here in the bottom of the 7th, is going to face Dave Philly first, George Strickland, Jim Hegan. If anybody gets on the pitcher spot. Pitch from Johnson. And it's a fly ball to left field. Wally Post. He's got a mark on that, and there's 1 away. Brings up George Strickland. Strickland homered his last time up. In fact, it was a grand slam homer. Pitch from Johnson. And it's a line drive, but right at Don Blasingame for out number 2. So 2 outs, nobody on. And catcher Jim Hegan, who is also homered in this game. Hegan is 2 for 3. 2 runs scored, an RBI. Pitch from Ken Johnson. It's a ground ball back to Johnson. He jogs over towards first base and tosses to Gordy Coleman. And the Indians go 1, 2, 3. No runs, no hits, no one left on. We've completed 7. And it's the Indians 9 and the Reds 6. Ken Johnson get fatigue point number 4. Now Garcia is at 4 as he comes out here for the top of the 8th. But as a reliever, as a starter reliever, pitching in a relief role, he's limited to 7 fatigue points. So there's going to be some action in the Indians bullpen, and that will be Ray Narleski. He's warming up for the Indians, so he'll be ready if needed as we go to the top of the 8th. And leading things off for the Reds is Wally Post. They trail 9 to 6. Pitch from Garcia. And that's a strikeout to start things off here in the top of the 8th. And that is strikeout number 3 for Garcia. So 1 out, nobody on, and Gene Freeze. Pitch. It's a 1 out single. Into left field, Freeze makes the turn. It's going to hold there. He's rated C for stealing, so he is staying put. All right, Garcia. Now it's Gordy Coleman. Man on first, 1 out. Pitch from Garcia. And Coleman gets under this. And it's Al Rosen over at third base waving off George Strickland, and he makes the catch for out number 2. There's 2 outs, man on first now for the Reds and John Edwards. Pitch from Garcia. It's a ground ball back to Garcia. It's going to be an X check. He's a 2, roll a 12. And Garcia throws this one away, but it doesn't go as far as the last one. But it allows Freeze to move over to third. Edwards holds it first on the E1. Second error for Mike Garcia. And second error for the Indians. And now the Reds have runners on the corners with 2 outs and the pitcher spot. Well, Ken Johnson worked out last time, but we don't want to take the chance again. So there's going to be some activity in the Reds bullpen, and Johnson's going to be lifted for a pinch hitter. And it's Ken Hunt warming up for the Reds. He will pitch in the bottom of the 8th. So Ken Johnson's day is done. And pinch hitting, it's going to be Jerry Lynch. Jerry Lynch is going to pinch hit for Johnson. Runners on the corners and 2 outs. Reds try to get something going here. Here's the pitch from Garcia. That's a ground ball back to second baseman Bobby Avila, over to Vic Wertz, and that's it for the Reds. No runs on 1 hit. 2 men left on after 7.5. It's the Indians 9 and the Reds 6. And Mike Garcia is going to pick up another fatigue point, and that's going to put him at 5. So he still has some gas in the tank, a little bit anyway. But his spot is leading off here in the bottom of the 8th. And as mentioned, Ray Marleski is warmed up and ready to go. So we're going to have a pinch hitter in Wally Westlake for the Indians. To lead things off here in the bottom of the 8th. All right, so Westlake. And as mentioned, Ken Hunt is the new pitcher for the Reds. 1961, he was 9-10 with a 3.97 ERA, 136 innings pitched. And let's see, Ken Hunt. All right. So Wally Westlake. The pitch. Almost hit him. That's a leadoff walk. Not what the Reds wanted right here. And we're back to the top of the order now. Smith. Pitch from Hunt. It's a fly ball to center field. And Veda Pinson's got that for the first out. And Westlake holds on first. That brings up Bobby Avila. Man on first, one out. Pitch to Avila. And that's off the wall in left center field. Avila rounds first and slides into second with a double. Westlake is held up at third. So now it's runners on second and third with one out. Larry Doby. Reds are bringing the infield in. Pitch to Doby. It's a ground ball back to the pitcher, Ken Hunt. And he fires home, and they get Westlake trying to score for out number 2. And that allows Avila to move up to third, and Doby reaches first on the fielder's choice. All right, so it's runners on first and third with 2 outs for Al Rosen. And the Reds are sending the defense back to normal depth. Pitch from Hunt. Rosen gets under this one, and Eddie Casco's got it for out number 3. So, the bottom of the 8th for the Indians, no runs on 1 hit. 2 men left. And we go to the top of the 9th with the Indians leading 9-6. And Ken Hunt will get his first fatigue point. Now, the new pitcher for the Indians is Ray Narleski. And we cleared that. Whoops. In 1954, Narleski was 3-3 with a 2.22 ERA, 89 innings pitched. And the first batter he's going to face, it's going to be the top of the order, Don Blasingame. Pitch from Narleski. Let me get him down here. That's a fly ball to left field. That sends Al Smith back to the track, to the wall, where he makes the catch for the first out here in the top of the 9th. The Indians 2 outs away from taking a 1-0 series lead. Here's Eddie Casco and the pitch from Narleski. Ground ball to third base. And Al Rosen to Vic Wertz, and there are 2 away. Reds are down to their last out, and it's Vada Pinson coming to the plate. They trail the Indians 9-6. Pitch from Narleski. Ground ball to short, but it's going to be an X check for George Strickland. He's a 2. We roll a 3. And Strickland makes a nice play from his knees. Fires over to Vic Wertz, and they get Pinson by a half step. Half step to end this one. No runs, no hits. And game 1 of the inaugural Gaedel Cup Finals goes to the Cleveland Indians by a score of 9-6. Let's get some totals. First for the Reds. 6 runs on 8 hits. They committed 1 error. The Indians 9 runs on 11 hits. They committed 2 errors. And the winning pitcher, when did Garcia come in? The winning pitcher is Bob Lemon. Loss goes to Ken Johnson. Or excuse me, no, Jim O'Toole. And Narleski picks up the save. Get a hold from Garcia. All right, so game 1 goes to the Indians. Game 2 will also be here at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. If you hung out with me, I appreciate it. And I'll see you again in the near future with another video. And until then, take care.